Alrighty. How y'all doing? Haven't been in the garage all week, but got a couple hours in on the car on the old Cadillac here this afternoon on a Saturday, and wanted to catch you up real quick. Got some 415 action going on here. Man, this stuff's some serious stuff. I about couldn't get the can open. There's a lot to this stuff, but anyhow, I coated everything because I was about to start putting another panel in and covering stuff up. So, and anything I need to grind off to do some more welding later, that'll be fine. I just went ahead and had it out and just went ahead and done it up, all inside the rocker and everything. But what I've got here, I'll show you something. Now this panel will go right underneath and right behind the rocker, which is rusted out, the very back side of the rocker. And of course, there's our angle that goes right up here. There we go. See, it goes right up there and attaches right here, or at least I'll have to put a little filler panel in there. Anyhow, this is what the front fender bolts on, right here in this area right here. So what I did was, on the back side, I used 1/8 inch steel, piece of that in there, and then of course it's curved for the contour it needs to be, and of course I'll spot weld it here on the back, on the inside, and then start working my way forward and keeping it in position. I got some holes drilled in the pinch weld right there, and they'll go right along this bottom side here, and then I'll start building from that. So the tough part is the top of this panel, where it goes between the rocker and the floor. The floor kind of curves up, so that shows up inside there. You just can't get anything in there to weld it. It's just too. So I don't know. I think what I'll do is run a real good bead of seam sealer in there, shove this panel on up in there, start spot welding it, getting it all in position, and then out here where I can get to it, I'll run me a tie-in piece of steel to tie in the top side of this, and of course it'll get welded up top here to go along with this section here. So I think it'll work out nice and be nice and solid. Let me get this thing in here, and we'll get a look at it here in a second. Alright, we got it welded on there. Let's check this out. Here's the piece of welded in. Got some spot welds along with pinch weld that I'll grind down and make it look nice and pretty. It's welded up on the inside. I have my little L bracket spot welded in here, and it's all nice and undercoated because it's getting ready to get covered up. Everything gets covered up, gets undercoated, then gets covered up. There we go. Well, now I've got another little hole here I'm going to patch, and I made a nice little kind of a template thing right here. I'll have a piece that I'll have to fold in, then I'll spot weld it underneath here, a piece that's not on here, but it'll fold out, and then I'll spot weld it onto here. That'll be really cool. Alright. Hey all, how you doing? Well, I was telling you about this little section piece that I was, I think the last time I talked to you, had this piece made, and I got 1/8 inch steel back here. Well, I've got her all welded in. I've got the end of this, there's just a little gooky stuff on there, the end of this rocker panel filled back in. Got 1/8 inch steel all the way up through here with this pinch weld. Now on the back side of this pinch weld here, the brackets that come from the floor on towards the front and the firewall, they weld to that. Then there's one underneath that's, I don't know, probably 2 inches away from where I cut it off, and I've got to fill it in and bring it in. This panel here turned out really, really nice. I'm really pleased with it, and don't mind my welds. I'm not using the best stuff, I figure I haven't welded anything in close to 20 years, so figure I'll learn my welding on the undercarriage of the car before I start on the sheet metal. So every good weld is just a grind away, is the way I see it. So I think it'll be alright. Anyhow, I got this piece I took off to get to all this, and I got it spot welded back on there. Now I'm building back this tube. Really, it just kind of goes in and kind of stitch welds into this and kind of ties it all together. But I've been working on making this little panel here, this little filler panel that goes underneath. It goes just inside the rocker panel, and then it'll go right inside here, and maybe you can see that there. Okay, so I'll get that little patch panel welded in place. I've got a 90 degree I put on. I'm going to drill some holes, do some spot welding there, drill some holes there, and do some spot welding to the bottom of the rocker here. Get it all done. I think I'm getting ready to get my Pour 15 back out. I really hate to put this in here and just rely on, you know, drilling a hole somewhere right there and squirting some stuff in there, hoping it'll be, you know, rust proofed. I think just weld through primer and undercoating squirted in there is probably not going to do it. So let me set up for my little another little experiment with Pour 15, and I'll show you that here in a sec. Alright, so not to advertise for anybody, but this Pour 15 is some mean stuff. I'm going to tell you what, this is my little dipping cup. There's a reason why I use the dipping cup, because I did buy a gallon thinking I'd use it all. Hopefully I still will. On this piece of cardboard and let it dry, and look at that. It's not coming off. This is glue in a can. I'm telling you, this stuff is some mean stuff. So I'm going to try to get some of this off of here. And I'm going to reuse as my dipping cup. Now what I did before was, you know, I used a little disposable thing and put my Pour 15 in there thinking, well, I can always put a piece of plastic on this, you know, and if I don't use it all, well, you know, within a couple hours, I can still use what's in there. The problem is, within about an hour, this stuff starts getting harder and harder and harder. And look, I just used this. Look at this. This is serious stuff here. You just can't do that. And with this deal here, I'm painting little pieces like this, the back sides that I can't get to them, and you just can't brush on a couple strokes and then stick it aside, and a couple hours later think you're going to grab it again and do it again because it's already set up. So here's my idea. Since I put the can in a plastic bag, it's real important that you don't get Pour 15 on the top of the can, okay, inside this seal joint here, because if you do, you won't get that top off. It will glue shut. You will not get it off. A lot of people use saran wrap and put in between the top and the can. That way it'll rip right back open. Problem is, you do that a couple times, the can's not going to seal up. You have chunks of plastic and all this crap in there. It's not going to seal up. This stuff starts hardening up on its own. So what I do is I use a dip cup, like I was telling you, and I keep the can in this big plastic bag, which happened to come in the mail that way. And what that seems to do is to keep it good. So if this isn't sealing perfectly, this bag keeps it sealed. So anyhow, I thought since I was using the bag, I'll use a small bag with my small disposable brush. There's a little 69-cent brush. I bought like 10 of them. Then I think what I could do is probably put a little Pour 15 in there, enough for me for the whole night, and it might last 3 or 4 hours that way if I can keep it sealed up, okay, and keep it sealed up just so I can use it and not waste a bunch of money. So here was my idea. We've got our cheap brush. You always keep this stuff stirred up good. You don't want to shake it. you might feel a little bit of stuff on the bottom, so you want to keep that stirred up really good. Okay? And like I said, be careful. This is what I do. You guys do what you want to do. This is what I do. I don't get it on the rim. I don't dump it out of the can. It's just not going to work out in the long run. I'll end up wasting a whole bunch. So, this is my main thing. Keep it off the can. And I'm going to go just like this. Okay? Nothing on the can. Get my little dipper. My little paint dipper. I'm going to dip just a little bit in this Ziploc baggie. And this is the hard part, really. And try to do this without making a mess. Don't get this stuff on your fingers, it won't come off. I think maybe a bigger baggie would be the thing to use. Who knows, we'll find out. We'll get a little more there. A bigger baggie or a smaller dipper. Okay. Now, I have more 415 in the bag. Do my best to keep it off your fingers before it sets up, because I'll tell you what, that stuff, it doesn't like to come off. Okay, now I got this little coffee can right here, and what I can do to keep it from getting up all on the sides and all that stuff, I think next time I'll use a bigger bag and a bigger coffee can, but put my top back on. Now, these tops just don't want to come off from the factory very well, so zip lock her up. And there we go. Got a nice clean can of paint ready to go again. Now, how I've been doing this is my piece. I want to do this side. I have yet to drill my spot weld holes, but I think that's okay. I can do that as soon as I'm done. Need to get grease and stuff. This metal has stuff on it. I had my hands on it, had oil on it from where it was made. So I'll grab just a nice clean towel. This isn't tack free, it's not a wipe all. This is just substrate stuff, you know, underneath panels that we're using. So if I get some lint or some fish eyes in it, something like that, not a big deal. But I'll use rubbing alcohol because it's cheap. And for this kind of stuff, hey man, we're going to save some money. So I use a little rubbing alcohol. And clean the piece that I'm going to 415 really quick. And you can put this stuff right on top of rust. If you can wire brush it and get any kind of loose stuff off it, get any kind of grease off of it. You want to use chemicals to clean it, more power to you. I didn't. Most of my stuff that was rusty, I used half vinegar and half water, soaked it, kept it wet for about an hour, and then rinsed it off with water. About a day or two later went by and 415 it. And I'll tell you what, that stuff is harder than hammered heck. So there's our piece. Now what I want to do, open our bag up. Actually I might, yes, a bigger can would be a good idea. Be real careful with this brush because you don't want to get it, the handle all pore 15 and it's all over your hands. Since I don't have gloves on, then you should wear gloves. Doesn't bother me to have black fingers. I don't care what people think, but you might. So just one nice thick coat. This stuff goes a long ways. It's super thick. That one dip of a brush right there will probably do this whole piece. Especially if you have a good clean piece of metal. It's not going to take much to cover it. Now stuff I'm getting ready to weld on, I don't want to put this right on. If I get a little on there, it's not a big deal. But I think what I want to do is put Mr. Brush right in the bag, ziplock the bag, and set it in there with the handle up. It won't dry on me. It's not going to get too much thicker just sitting for a couple hours, because here in a couple hours I might not want to use that again. Got a little bit on my fingers, so I'll just take my alcohol rag I just used, get that stuff off there before it sets up. Now I'll show you some stuff that you can see some on my hands now that's been there. Stuff right here. See that right there? That's been on there for a couple of days. And I wash my hands probably 20 times a day at work. It's still on there. So anyway, we'll see how my little experiment works. I think it's a good system to work for this kind of deal. We're just doing little pieces here and there as you're working along. It makes a big pain in the ass. This might make it easier. And heck, this brush, keeping it in a Ziploc baggie, might make that brush last as long as I want it to. Anyway, I'll get this piece drilled out. I'll get it welded on, and we'll get back to seeing where I'm at. Thanks, guys. Well, hey everybody. Well, time to get this video finished up. There'll be some sections before this part that I'm not going to remember what I told you, because I'm too lazy to go back and look and make it all professional and all that kind of stuff. So no sense in being all that, because I'm not. So just to recap, got all this all done. Look at this. I got a nice piece of channel in here. This is our original piece that I took off and put back on. Now you saw me make this piece right here. This is 1/8 inch steel on the back side of 18 gauge steel, going all the way back into the good portion of the rocker panel. Got a little patch I made right here. That's all this black stuff is that pore 15, and you know, so it's kind of hard to see the detail, but you can see this right here. Everything's pretty much like factory. I'm really kind of impressed with myself for the moment. But I'll seam seal all the spot welds and the seams and everything, just to keep water from getting in. Anything that wants to come out, I'm going to leave it open so it can come out, because if you're going to get stuff in there, I'd rather it be airy and all that stuff. But I'm going to show you what's going on the back side. It's pretty interesting. I've got to finish that up. So let me set the camera up and the lights up so that I can see what I'm doing and you can see what I'm doing, and I'll get right back with you. Okay, here we go. Now you'll see where this is a floor brace that comes up, and here's the body mount, two body mounts that I was worried about having to take the body off the frame to fix. Well, it stopped right here pretty much, so I just chopped it off, and then of course this was all gone. There was nothing here. The fender bolts on right here, or it will once I fix the fender so it'll bolt onto something, but this was gone, totally gone. The fender, the corner edge of the fender right here at the end of this rocker panel was brazed on. Someone had brazed it when they did the cheapy paint job on it so that they wouldn't have to worry about fixing this, so the car looked pretty good, but it was a big piece of shit, really. Anyhow, you see the piece I put in here. I thought this is all 1/8 inch reinforcement behind it. This is 1/8 inch right here. This is 1/8 inch right here. Of course, I've already got it rubberized, undercoated underneath it, and the reason for that is I'm going to cap this all over with 18 gauge sheet metal, so it looks really nice. I'll seam seal it all, and of course it's going to get all pour 15'd up before I put the piece on. So I'm going to make the piece kind of close anyway, pour 15 it, and slap it on there. But you know, I got this floor brace thing. See, it was supposed to come into here, so I need to connect it all and make it shed water. I'll leave it, like I was saying, a place for water to drain out. This 1/8 inch steel here and here and here. There's going to be just a real small gap between it and the next piece, and it's just going to be spot welded to these braces, okay, and then spot welded up here, spot welded up here, okay, so, and then seam sealed. That way, if any water does get behind that, it has a place to come out. And that's what happened to the original one. Was similar the same way. It didn't have these big braces on the inside, but mine will. But water and crap got inside of it, plugged the holes up, and just ate it up. Let me get a few things, and I'll show you what I'm doing and how I'm going to do that. Okay. Now what I have here, just a manila folder type thing. You could probably use a poster board or cardstock or regular paper. You could use a pair of old jeans probably. I don't know. Do it however you want. Use what you got, because that's what I do. And I've got some tape. So, hopefully I don't get in front of the camera. What I want to do is, I want a piece of sheet metal that's going to come from here and probably go to right about here. Okay, so take that there. You can use your knee to hold it up for you, or if you got a helping hand. I usually don't have too many people around to give me a hand, so I figure out how to do it all on my own. What about here? It's just to hold it up. And what I want to do is kind of, now on the other side of the car, the exhaust runs through here. So if someday I want to run dual exhaust, that means the exhaust has to come right through here. So that's the reason this is all up really nice and high and tight, or I could have come straight down. But I want to make sure I have room for really cool, loud dual exhaust, because everybody likes cool, loud dual exhaust. Take my Sharpie, and I'm going to feel where that bracket is. And I know it's going to come right around here somewhere. I just want to kind of eye it out. And I know that floor bracket stops right about here. You probably can't see it, but I'll show you here in a second. And then it's got to go this way. We'll go this way. Now, if I have a little bigger piece than I need and it overlaps, that's okay. You can always trim it off. I want to come up here and go right into here. Maybe a little bigger than that. Okay. Now, what I'll do is take my next piece and go on top of that. So this is a big piece that I want to make for starting out. And there you got it, right there. I'll trace this out, cut this out, trace it out on some sheet metal, cut it out however I figure out the best way to do it, and there you go. Be right back. Alright, so here we go. Not real big and precise, but pretty close. The kind of deal like this on this kind of car, it's really not going to be a concourse type of restoration. This is all going to be rubberized, undercoated, seam sealed, and not really to hide anything, but to preserve it, to make this a car that'll last me or somebody else a really long time. So what I can do, however this is going to fit the best, I think I might just go just like that. Maybe. I like keeping these square corners for something else later, so I guess maybe that's going to be the best route. Now I didn't cut this off, so I think this is the end where I'm going to overlap the next piece over top of it anyhow, so scribe that on out of there. Now if this was a patch panel for one of my doors or one of my bad fenders, I'd probably use a scribe tool to make this really super accurate, but in this I'm not really too worried about how accurate it is, only that it covers and it ends up being pretty close to where I want it. Now this I want to cut that straight off right there. Yeah, I guess that'll do it. So real quick, someone had pointed out to me that I was using this without a guard on it. Now, you should never take your guard off, but I did, and I got busted because I was inside behind the rocker panel trying to get in a really tight place, and I just couldn't do it no matter where I turned that stupid thing, and the tool was just too big for what I was trying to do. So if you saw that, if you noticed that, put your guard on. Keep your guard on. If you need something smaller, buy something smaller, in which I've got something smaller now. This little deal right here, little cutoff wheel. And what's funny about it is though, people in the car industry use these all the time. They don't have a guard on it. It's kind of like this, but it's smaller, less sparks and less stuff like that, and you still have to watch. You have to wear gloves, long sleeve shirts, and safety glasses, right? You always want to know where your sparks are going to go. Well, some technical difficulties. Apparently, if you drop the camera just a little bitty bit, it shuts off by itself. I suppose it's a safety thing. Okay. So, this thing here will go something sort of like this. I think it'll be alright. It might hang off a little bit here and I can always trim that off later. But what I want to do just like that. I'll get a little help. It'll work out pretty nice, I think. I just want it nice and tight up to that floor. I think that's going to get me close enough for starters. And what I'll do, I'll 415 it on the inside. Then I'm going to clean my metal and get ready to weld. I'm going to weld a nice stitch weld here, a nice stitch weld here, and probably one right here if I can get it. And I'll start hammering and knocking this piece of metal up into this floor brace so it kind of conforms with it really good. Yeah, I think that'll be alright. Anyway, let's go here. Clean this shop up a little bit. Okay, you guys might remember my little trick with the 415 in the bag. It gets really, really thick. It starts to set up. Starts getting kind of thick. But I tell you what, I don't want to waste this. There is stuff in there. I'm going to try to use it. But first, get a nice clean rag and some rubbing alcohol. Now, this isn't necessarily a tack-free rag. I'm not worrying about how this is going to look with clear coat and all that stuff on it. But what I want to do is make sure that pore 15 sticks to my metal. So I'll wipe it down with some rubbing alcohol. It'll dry up nice and quick. And I probably won't even let this stuff completely cure, and that's okay, but you got to be real careful when you're welding with paint that's not completely set up yet, and you're getting it really hot because it likes to catch fire. Ask me how I know. Okay. Now this pore 15 will last pretty well for a couple of days that way. Now if I can find a new brush, how about a new old brush? No, that's not going to work either. Hold on just a second. There we go. A cheap, like 29-cent brush, so that when I'm done with it, I throw it in the trash. Okay. This stuff's probably, it might be too thick to use, but it's expensive, so I'm going to try to use it. You really should use gloves if you're worried about going to dinner with your girlfriend or your wife and having black stuff on your hands for a couple weeks, because that's how long it takes. Get it off with some rubbing alcohol or something, some kind of good reducer, before it sets up. And all I'm doing here is just a nice little coat right on the bare metal. Notice this stuff really likes bare metal, and even what it likes a little bit better is just a little bit of mild surface rust. It really eats into that stuff, bubbles it up, and it's like harder than hammered you know what. Yeah, this stuff's good and thick, and I'm not too worried about it. I'd rather it be thick than to be thin. I'll do my best to squirt some undercoating up inside here, because I'll have a nice place where I can spray up in there, because I'm going to leave that gap like I was telling you. Not to plug it off, but to coat it and protect it. This kind of thing doesn't have to, it's on the inside. It doesn't have to be pretty. Nobody's ever going to see it again. But I guarantee you, if I don't do this, you'll see it when it rusts. Now, this is not a guarantee it's not going to rust, but hey, best I can tell, this is a really good way of keeping it at bay for a really long time. Okay, I think that's going to do it. Now I'm going to help this dry and set up a little bit faster with a little heat. There you see, there's the 415 part, and it has lots of streaks in it, some brush hairs in it, but it's going to eat right onto that metal. So what I'll do, lay it right here on my garage floor and put the work light on it. That's going to help it set up and dry. And I want to tell you how I know this stuff really digs into whatever surface it's on. Really, see these spots right here? That was 415. After a couple of days, maybe a week, I scraped it off with a scraper because otherwise it wouldn't come off. And it actually took up the top layer of the concrete, sort of the sealer that was in it. Kind of crazy stuff. Works really good. Anyhow, let's let this dry a little bit. I'll get right back with you and we'll get this here piece on. Let's see what it looks like. Alright. I wanted to show you guys this before I went any further. I had a bit of a problem and I learned something. Yep, even Junk Box Mike learns once in a while. You know, I got this welded up, got a little spot weld back here, or whatever you want to call it. Well, I drilled some holes and tried spot welding. Didn't work out. There's too much undercoating, too much crap underneath there, you know, and what I wanted to do was rather try to burn through it so that it's still in there and rust protected. Well, it just doesn't work out that way. I had to pull it back, clean it out, and do it that way. And I've welded on the sides of it here where I got down into the metal. So the way I was doing it was using the bare metal, cleaning it up, spraying it with rust through primer, zinc enriched primer, which helps conduct electricity. So I got this piece in good now. It's solid. You can beat it with a hammer like you saw me doing. I beat the crap out of it. So the next piece has to go spot weld right here, kind of go on in and form just overlapping here, and I'll be able to spot weld that and kind of line up with this thing right up here. Then I have the very last little piece that I'm either going to put in here on top of that next piece, or this next piece is going to go on up into there. The inner fender well covers right here, so nothing's, you know, really going to get into it, but I'm sure about overworking on this corner of the car, and I'm almost done, so I'm going to stick with it, and we're going to have a video tonight out. So I'll check back with you in just a few. Alrighty, here we go. Well, here's what I got. Kind of looks factory. But once I seam seal everything here, all down through here, I'll seam seal this big pinch weld I got that's all brand new and layered. A couple little gaps here and there. These gaps here will stay open. Yeah, sure, water will splash up in them, but this is so undercoated and 415 on the inside, I think it'll be fine. I'd rather it just come out. I'd rather it just come out right through here. Any kind of water gets in on top, it's going to run down and it's going to come right on out. And I'll know once in a while to come here and clean these holes out, just like the hole in the bottom of the cowl and a lot of other things. There's holes in the rocker panels, 3 or 4 down the bottom of the rocker panel that are made for drain holes, and you need to clean them out. You know, keep stuff from backing up in it and all that good stuff. But now all I got to do is pour 15 this real quick tonight before I go to bed, soak it down really good, let it dry, then come back and seam seal everything up, seal it all up, and then go to that part. See that? Yeah, it's not nearly as bad, but there's another one behind that one. There's another one over there, another one over there, and another corner just like this one that's just not nearly as bad. So actually, to me, I'm pretty happy with this, really. I think it could have turned out way worse. I think it, you know, it's not a bad assimilation of what it looked like factory, I think. So I think once it's seam sealed and undercoated, of course this bottom half of the whole firewall, I'll undercoat it and overspray it with some white paint so it looks, you know, looks factory. Or the other way around. I don't know. I'll think about it. But anyway, it'll be all undercoated. Rubberized, undercoated, sealed up. Hey, we're done. We're done with this corner except for another couple hours. Anyway, it's a long journey. And we really just started. So, but I'm pretty pleased. If I don't talk to y'all before Christmas,